Hi, I'm so excited to share with you today the fundamentals of styling your stationery flatlays. Today I'm going to show you how you can style your stationery to attract more of your dream clients, market your business more effectively on social media, and ultimately make more sales in a process I call illustrative styling. My name is Juliana Mary. I'm a photographer and paper stylist, though I started my first business in 2013 as a stationery designer and calligrapher. When I started, I had no idea how to get quality images of my work, so I spent hundreds of dollars on mock-ups that were less than stellar, and even the good ones didn't work well for me because everyone was using the same images, which, as you might already know, makes it really difficult to stand out. Then I found out about something called wedding-styled shoots, which was really hit or miss for me in terms of the photographer styling, and actually getting me shots that showed off my work as the main focus of the image. Even on the rare occasions where the photographer did a great job styling, it was pretty unusual that those same images fit my brand or aesthetic. So I felt really stuck in this cycle of wanting to have beautiful images, wanting to create beautiful work, and put it out into the world, but had no idea of how to show it off to attract my dream clients. My Instagram, Etsy, website, Pinterest were honestly all pretty sad and definitely weren't a reflection of the type of business I wanted to build. So flash forward to about 2017, 2018, that's when I decided that if I was going to make it as a stationer and get serious about my business, I had better learn to style and photograph my own work. It took a lot of time, trial and error, and practice, but what I learned literally transformed my business. Once I started posting unique, real, beautifully styled images, the inquiries from dream clients were quick to follow. Honestly, it felt like magic, but really I just discovered the power of product photography and what I now call illustrative styling. Through that experience, I discovered a love of styling, and now my business is focused exclusively on photography and paper styling. I help stationers of all sizes grow with mock-ups that are available for purchase in my styled stock shop, custom styled shoots, and I'm launching soon a full course called The Art of Illustrative Styling that shares in-depth my exact process for styling from ideation to prop curation to styling and photography to editing. Let's imagine together for a moment what it would feel like to wake up to dozens of serious inquiries tomorrow morning from dream clients who love your work, your aesthetic, and are excited to pay you what you're worth. Can you imagine how wonderful that would feel? That's the power of illustrative styling. It's truly incredible, and I know it sounds like magic, but it worked for my stationery business and has worked for dozens of my clients as well. Styling is about so much more than a pretty picture, and when executed thoughtfully with intention, can have truly amazing results. Becoming skilled in styling and photographing your work means that you no longer need to rely on anyone else to get the images you need to market your business, but instead can craft your own unique voice in the market and set yourself apart and attract your dream clients. There are three fundamentals you need to know when styling your work. One is storytelling, 2 is composition, and 3 is lighting. Storytelling is the cornerstone of illustrative styling and what sets your image apart from everyone else. In my course, The Art of Illustrative Styling, there's an entire module dedicated to uncovering your unique brand voice, understanding your clients, and translating all of that into a visual mood board to inform your styling process. But today I'm going to keep it really simple. What's the story behind the invitation suite or stationery that you're styling? If your suite was created for an adventurous outdoorsy couple, like the suite I styled here, then selecting props that tell that story is key. On the other hand, maybe the invitation suite you're styling was created for a traditional church wedding. The props you'd select for that setup would be entirely different. Think through the entire story you are telling and make sure your styling is as true to life as possible. What I mean by that is, in my opinion, there's no place in a wedding stationery flatlay for things like shoes, paper clips, or other props that wouldn't naturally be put on a table with wedding invitations. I know that the point of styling seems to be to put as many pretty things in a picture as possible, but what's really going to connect with your audience is helping them envision your work as part of their wedding day in as realistic and beautiful of a way as possible. Once you've selected your props based on the story you want to tell, it's time to get into composition. The most important things to remember when composing your images are 1, where you're going to use the image, and 2, keeping your audience looking a little longer. Where you're using your image is really important because it'll affect how many things you can fit into your image and where you put them. If you're styling for Instagram and want a 1-to-1 square ratio, that's very different than styling a 2-to-3 ratio for Pinterest or a long horizontal image for a website banner. You can certainly crop your images to fit whatever ratio you need, but having a plan in advance will be beneficial in the event you want to have all of the pieces of a suite in the frame versus some of the pieces cut off at the edges. When I talk about keeping your audience's attention, what I really mean is to stop the scroll. We want to encourage people who find your image to stop, look, and then look a little longer, and we can do that by being thoughtful about your composition. When I style paper, I like to offset each piece slightly, so though it's all straight, no two pieces next to each other are perfectly in line. This makes the image a little more interesting to look at and carry the eye through the image. You can see an example of that in the first image right in the middle of this slide. Though everything is nice and straight, horizontally, vertically, no two pieces next to each other are in a line moving down the image. The next tip is to be thoughtful about how and where you place little props like scissors, stamps, or ribbons. You always want to be directing your audience's eye in towards the focus of your image, in this case, your stationery. So pointing a pair of scissors, for example, toward your stationery is much more effective than pointing them down or away from the focal point. The same is true for ribbon. Be thoughtful about the tail of the ribbon and where it's leading someone's eye. As far as little props like wax seal, stamps, or flower petals, I like to work in odd numbers. Having 3 stamps in a little group feels more natural than 2. So if something feels off in your image, see if you're working in evens or odds and add another little something to it to make an odd number, and then see if that works. This isn't a hard and fast rule, but I found it to be true 99% of the time. The last tip I want you to walk away with is my #1 most frequently asked question, and that is about lighting. How to achieve good lighting at home or on location for a styled shoot. Luckily, the answer is actually really simple. Find a spot that is well lit with indirect natural sunlight. Turn off any other lights around you and use that natural light to achieve more true-to-life colors and brighter whites. Keep in mind, all digital photos need to be edited, so don't be afraid to play with your exposure and temperature in a photo editing app like Adobe Lightroom, Photoshop, or maybe there's some other mobile app you really like after your shoot. But if you use good light to begin with, you'll be way ahead of the game. If you don't have any indirect sunlight wherever you're styling, you can try using parchment paper over the window to diffuse the light, and white foam board to bounce the light and decrease your shadows. Just place your white foam board across from your light source and play with the angle a little bit, and you'll see that you will increase or decrease your shadows depending on how you position the foam board. In this lesson, we covered 3 fundamentals of flatlay styling: storytelling, composition, and lighting. But before we say goodbye, I thought it would be fun to show you how I get at least 6 different images from one styled scene that are perfect to use for your social media. Hi, I want to show you how you can achieve 6 different shots while styling one styled scene. Right from your smartphone, and you can do all of your editing online. So the first shot that I would always recommend is when you have all of your props on your, wherever you're doing your styling. For the purposes of this video, I'm actually on the floor, but you can lay out your props in a way that is kind of organic. I wouldn't think about it too much, but place some things around and see, first of all, this is really fun to make sure that your props and your story and everything that you wanted to incorporate are working well together. And again, I don't want it to look too perfect at this point. But so I would just go ahead and kind of put things organically in the scene, mix in lots of little dishes and pretty little elements. And this is going to serve twofold. This is first of all going to give you a great behind the scenes photo, but it's also going to help you make sure that your props are in fact telling the story that you intend. So I'm pretty happy with how this looks. I'm liking my overall color palette. I like seeing these little dishes all together. I think this looks fine. So the next thing I would do is I would bring out my phone, open up my camera app, and right from my phone, I would snap a few quick pictures. So if you're counting, I had mentioned getting 6 images. You can definitely get way more than 6 doing this. And kind of go through your scene. The next thing you can do, and I always recommend, is to grab a quick video as well. So go onto the video and do a slow scroll. Very slow. You don't want people to get seasick through your behind the scenes styling. This is a really fun thing to do for your Instagram stories, for your feed, and if you really love it, you could even put it on your website. Okay, so now I've got at least 2 to 3 images. I also have my video. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and style up a scene and show you a couple more photos that I'd always recommend grabbing. And again, these are all going to be from one styled setup. So I have the one now of everything, all the props that I want to use. I'm not going to use all of these props in every single photo, but it's nice to see how they're all working together and to give myself some options. So I'm just going to place all my little bowls off to the side so that I can kind of start with a clean slate here. Let's make some space. Depending on what you want to have as your main focus, there's going to be a little bit of a behind the scenes styling advice in here too. You can think about that rule of thirds. You can either put that thing right in the center, or you can put it at one of the crosshairs. I think I'm just going to go ahead and start off by putting my invitation pretty much centered. Let's find the center of this video, right about here. And handy dandy acrylic block, because I like making those little shadows. And now I'm going to layer in some additional pieces. This is a 2-sided invitation suite. This suite was designed by Jill at Twin Sisters. And I'm starting to like this layout. Maybe layer these in. Whenever I'm layering, I tend to use a block. It helps me keep everything a little bit more flat, which I really like. Because if this had any height to it, then the image might be, the card might be a little bit warped. This helps make sure it's on a flat surface. Okay, so overall I'm liking this shape. let's say I was styling this for a horizontal website banner, for example, then this sort of a layout would work really well. Okay, I do have a couple more envelopes here, maybe to balance out that color, this kind of stone color. Maybe I'll layer in a little bit. So maybe something like that. That looks all right. Okay. And now I will add in my props. You're welcome to add in props as you go along, of course, but I like to get my main pieces laid out first because that's really what we're focusing on here is the stationery, and I want to always make sure that that's the focus. I just got these beautiful gold scissors. I really love these. So I want to make sure I balance out the gold. I think I'm going to do more of a color palette of gold and blacks. So I have all these little fun dishes of various sizes, which gives me more options of what to work with. Now this is kind of nice because this color, by accident, almost perfectly matches these envelopes. So I could use that. Or if I wanted it to be a little bit more of a stark contrast, replace it with a black. Now, what I would typically do then is you don't want to leave the little bowl empty. So I might put in some vintage stamps that I think work well with this color palette and with this scene. So those are all right. And let's get one more just to do that rule of threes. I don't want to spend too much time on the actual styling part right now because I want to show you about getting those images. All right, this is fine. This isn't something I would actually put out into the world quite like this. I'm not totally happy with the scene, but what you can see here, so I'm trying to achieve some balance, which is super important. I would zoom in on this image if I were photographing it. So I'm going to take out my smartphone again, and I think zoomed in, this actually looks quite nice. Make sure that I'm flat. I've got my important things where I need them to be. So there's one image. I just took a picture of the full suite. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a little bit closer here. I'm going to get right overhead that invitation. And I also love getting these kinds of detail shots. I'm going to get really close on this one to show off this little wax seal and this beautiful detail card. Now, that's a nice shot. What I'm noticing is when I zoom in here, if I wanted to get this shot, for example, there's this little space that feels a little bit awkward. So when you're getting these detail shots, don't be afraid to just switch around your props a little bit until that specific frame looks good. So I liked having this little handle here for the close-up, whereas if I were styling this for the overhead, I'd more likely want those scissors to be pointing in to be that leading line into my image. Again, for the purposes of being more of a close-up shot, I'm going to flip those around, and I'm going to go ahead and grab another video now that this scene is styled up. So I'm going to slowly move through my scene, showing off that final styled scene in Flatlay. You don't want to go too quickly. You don't want people to get seasick. And then when I get back to my focus piece, stop the video. So there you have it right there. I think I took maybe 6 to 8 images
that you can do fairly quickly. The styling, of course, is the longest part, but once you're done, you've got a handful of images that you can spread throughout your social media as well as on your website.
One final thought. Styling takes time and practice. Don't be discouraged if it takes you a full day to get a few images. I like to describe styling like graphic design in 3D. No one would expect to have a dozen perfectly designed brochures or flyers at the end of one day, and it's exactly the same for styling. You're literally creating a layout just like in graphic design, but with styling, it's in the physical world rather than on a computer. It's not a quick or easy process, but the more you practice, the better and quicker it will become. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. For more information on styling, stock photography and mock-ups, and creating beautiful flatlays, you can visit me online at julianamary.com, Instagram at Juliana Mary, or email me directly at hello@julianamary.com.